Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hello and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming the program author Roxanne Bland, and Roxanne is the author of the Moreva of Astoreth. Roxanne grew up in Washington, D.C., where she discovered strange and wonderful new worlds through her local public library and bookstores. These and other life experiences have convinced her that reality is highly overrated. She lives in Rosedale, Maryland. Roxanne, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Well, let's start with a big question. Tell us about your book, please.
Well, it's essentially about a woman who falls for a man of the race she despises, and through him learns a dark secret about her gods that could tear her world apart.
So who did you write your book for specifically?
Well, I wrote it for an audience of men and women between the ages of 30 and, say, 55 who love science fiction and fantasy.
Now, could you say there's any type of central message or perhaps underlying theme that you could say runs throughout the book?
Yes, bigotry. I think that's a soul-crushing affliction. And if we examine it, face it, and work with it, we can overcome it.
Now, if you had to choose, what would you say is the single most important idea you're sharing in your book that's really going to add value to the reader's life?
That the reader should examine their own bigotries, face them and overcome them. And by that self-love, you can let real love into your life so that you can find your place in the world.
Now, if you could compare your book with any book out there we might already be familiar with, which book would it be and why?
I think it would be Anne McCaffrey's The Dragon Riders of Pern series. It's not that the stories are similar. It's just that the world-building aspect of it. I've had readers tell me that the Moreva of Astoreth reminds them a lot of Anne McCaffrey's works.
What was your inspiration for this book?
Well, you could say this book was 30 years in the making. When I was in college, I collaborated with a friend on a story, the details of which I'm not going to bore you, but years later I read Zecharia Sitchin's works, who posits that ancient astronauts came to Earth, created humans, and founded a Sumerian civilization. So what I did was meld the two stories together.
So give us some more in regards to the storyline.
Well, Moreva Tehi is a priestess, scientist, and healer, and she misses an important ritual and is punished by being sent to this volatile far corner of the planet. And there she falls in love with, again, of a man of a race she despises, and learns through him to overcome her own bigotry.
What about some of the other characters in the book?
Well, there is a healer, Haim, who is very kind to her and unwittingly sets her on her journey for self-healing. Then there is Laird Tegger, who, of course, is the love interest. And then there's Captain Yos, her adversary.
What do you think most characterizes your writing?
It's melodic. I'm a musician, and to me, language is song. People speak in songs, and that's what I try to convey in my writing.
Now, how are your characters developed?
I take them little by little, and I layer them. And through each layer, you can see how they grow and change.
So how do you think you've evolved creatively as a writer?
Well, first of all, I've learned that my writing is not sacrosanct. If there is something that doesn't work, I am much more likely to cut it or change it. I remember on my first book, I used to fight with my editor all the time about what should stay and what shouldn't. But now I think about these things much more critically. And as I said, I cut what isn't necessary. And I'm also willing to take chances now to show the flaws in my characters.
So what's been your most rewarding experience since publishing your book?
My sister's reaction. Let me tell you something about my sister. She pulls no punches. If she doesn't like something, she'll tell you, and in no uncertain terms. And I honestly respect her opinion, too. So when she told me when she read the book, it was like seeing a movie in her head, that made me feel really good, not just because she's my sister, but because she really thought that much about the book.
How would you describe your writing style?
I think it's not something for children. I use words that are not necessarily used in the average lexicon, but that doesn't mean you have to look them up either. Well, unless I use my science fiction words, in which case you can check the glossary at the back of the book. But all in all, I think my style, like I said, is melodic. I think it flows naturally. I write the way people speak, and I think that people will find it not difficult to read.
Who or what would you say influenced your writing the most?
Oh, man, just about everybody. Ursula K, LeGuin, Dean Koontz, Stephen King, Peter Straub. What I do is when I find an author that I like, I take what I want, I take what appeals to me, and I weave it into my own style of writing. And that way, I create my own voice so that I hope, sets my writing apart from other people's.
Based on your experience as a writer, what's the one recommendation you would make to authors just starting out?
Write. Write as often as you can. You don't have to write every day, which is a common wisdom, but write as often as you can. The next thing I would recommend is don't worry if what you're putting out is garbage, because everybody puts out garbage. It's called the first draft. But you must practice. You must practice. Even experienced musicians practice.
Now, are your characters pure fiction, or do you draw from people you know in real life?
Oh, no, they're pure fiction. I don't think anybody I know would want to end up in one of my novels. I sure wouldn't.
Would you say you're more of a character artist or more a plot-driven writer?
I'm a character artist. I have gone the plot-driven route, and it just didn't work for me. It felt too constraining, and I just let my characters tell the story.
Other than selling your work, of course, is there anything else you hope to accomplish with it?
I hope readers would love to be immersed in my world. I hope that they feel it will be time well spent, and I hope they just enjoy themselves.
In your opinion, who should buy your book?
Anyone who is interested in delving deep into a world where characters interact with the world rather than the world just serving as a backdrop. Now, to do that makes for a big book. At 452 pages, the Moreva of Astoreth is not a quick leisure read. So if that's what you're looking for, I highly recommend that you do not buy this book.
Do you have a website?
Yes, it is roxannebland.rocks, as in Rolling Stones, rocks. However, it's under construction, and that's if you want to visit it in the future. My Facebook page is Roxanne Bland Author, and my blog is roxannebland.com.
Could you spell your name for us, please?
R-O-X-A, N as in Nancy, N-E, B as in boy, L-A, N as in Nancy, D as in dog.
This has been just great. Our guest today has been Roxanne Bland, and she is the author of the Moreva of Astoreth. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. Please share this interview with your family and friends so that they too may have the opportunity to discover our guest and her work. And why not spread the word on social media? We look forward to you joining us next time for another great book and another great author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.